Hello friends, welcome to the TechViewSoft. So today we are going to start implementation of Spring Boot. Okay, so the previous sessions I created for Spring Core, REST and JPA. Okay, so yeah, core will be important. You can watch it before starting this session. Okay, and I will provide the playlist URL also in the comments. Okay, so let's understand how to create a Spring Boot application from the scratch. So if you are a new on Spring, right? How to create the application, if you want to know that, right, please follow me. So as Spring Boot, I have given let me give one definition of Spring Boot first. What is Spring Boot? How does it work, right? So Spring Boot is a one kind of, I can say, like advanced version of Spring, right? Advanced version of Spring, which is having a lot of advantage. First advantage is that it is provide auto configuration. Okay, so how does it provide auto configuration? Here we will use in one annotation called at Spring Boot application. So at Spring Boot application, that is a combination of three annotation, which I can say. One is at the rate of configuration, right? Configuration. Second is at component scan. Okay, and third one is at auto configuration, auto enable configuration. So that's why it is provide auto configuration, right? I don't have to provide too much like annotation configuration or component scan kind of that. So component scan does scan the base package, configuration does provide configuration, auto enable configuration. So that's the one advantage of here we provide auto configuration. Second advantage is that every Spring Boot project have its own Tomcat server. Spring Boot have its own inbuilt server, right? And it is having its own inbuilt database also, right? So Spring Boot have a H2 database. Spring Boot having its own local database, which is called H2, right? So whenever you want to test application in your local, right, that time we do go with the H2 database, right? So it is only for testing purpose. In deployment purpose we do not use that because it is having a lot of drawback. But yeah, that is a main advantage of Spring Boot, right? Auto configuration. So here we have like these three annotation inbuilt of Spring Boot application. It is having its own Tomcat server. It is having a one S2 database, right? So I'm creating a new application. With the help of that, you can understand how can be import and run this Spring Boot application. Okay. So now I'm opening to this browser and I'm writing here Spring Initializer. So we have many way to create the projects, but here we do follow Spring Initializer. So in Spring Initializer, we will pick which project I want. So first I will project the Maven project. We have a Gradle as well, so we can pick any one of them. I'm taking Maven only. Language I'm taking Java. So I'm taking group com.example artifact ID. I can say like it could be my example, something like that. It could be any name. So that could be a project name and that could be a package name. I can add some dependency. So right now I'm just going with the simple application, so I'm adding the wave only. That's it. I'm not adding any other dependency. Later on we will see some other dependency as well, but right now I'm using only the wave dependency, and I will click on the generate. Right, project has downloaded. I can go there. Okay, and I can copy that and I can import directly, right? So what I can do here, I can go here and I can click on open projects, and open project I will paste it. So you have to extract that project, right? If you're opening directly, it will not. Okay, it is directly coming from the zip, right? Let me extract that first, then on it will work, otherwise it will not. So here let me extract that one. extract all. Okay, this time it is extracted. And let me copy this, open the IntelliJ IDEA and click on the open project, paste it, yeah, select, trust. So this time Spring Boot project has integrated with my application. So here we have a like src folder which is having a man, right? So when you will create this Spring Boot project, right, one class will by default come, okay, which is called my example application. That class will be a runner class of your Spring Boot application. So I'm talking about this annotation Spring Boot application, right? So it is having a main method, right? And Spring Boot application annotation is a combination of three annotation, right? That will provide a lot of inbuilt configuration like component scan, enable auto configuration, right? And configuration, right? These are the part of this Spring Boot application itself. And it is having a main method also, which is responsible to run our application. But we do not write anything in under this main method. This is only for running purpose. So if you want to start from the scratch, from the basics, then we have to create a one package inside it. So let me create a one package first. I will give the package name is like controller. Control is one of the package here, and I'm creating a one class. Let's say my controller, suppose. That could be any name, my controller, right? So that is a class which is a my controller, and here I can use one annotation, right? At controller, not confidential, at controller. Okay, I'm using it at controller annotation, and here I will use some method like void, not void, let's keep it string here. So public string, say like test. Here what I'm doing, I'm simply returning some data. So I will return here like return welcome to Spring Boot, something like that. Okay, welcome to Spring Boot. So this time I made a one method, right, that is used at controller annotation, and here I have to keep one annotation as well. So here it is simply kind of giving the message only, right? So here I will use one get mapping. I have explained that all in the REST video. I have covered one video on the REST, right? REST API. Please watch it once before starting it. And here I will provide like suppose in double quote say welcome, something like that, right? So what am I, right? It could be one endpoint for me. So this endpoint will help you to run this particular method. What this method is doing, it is simply returning welcome to Spring Boot. It is a simple message, right? And what I will do, let me run this. So how do I run? I have many options, but I will pick this one. So I can directly click on this main method and I will click on this run. So it will start running my example. So you can see here my server has started. It is starting 8080 port, right? Then to test it, right, I have to open the Postman. So let me open the Postman. So in the Postman here I have to keep what is the method name we are getting here, right? So we are using here what method? To this example, get mapping only, right? In the controller, get mapping, right? So I have to use get, and then I have to use welcome. So what I will do here, I will write first, that is a common like localhost, that will remain always because we are running in local, right? So we are writing localhost. If you are accessing from the remote, then we will write your IP address like 127.126.1.1, something like that. And after that I will write the port number like 8080. Then what I will write I will write the endpoints, right? What is the endpoint? We have defined here that endpoints is called welcome. That way I was telling endpoint will play very important role to call the application. So localhost 8080/welcome. If I will go with that, right, and if you click on the send, I will not get I'm getting 404. Why it is giving 404? Let me check it once. Okay, that could be reason. Let me check it once with one annotation called response body. And let me restart it once. If I will edit this now. Yeah, actually why I'm getting 404, because if I will go with a simple get mapping, right? Right, so what happened, right? This is a Java object. Welcome to Spring Boot. It is a string object in Java, and when it is sending the response to the postman, right, that time whatever we are getting, right, that will be in the form of JSON actually. Welcome to Spring Boot. So what happened, right? This controller annotation doesn't have a like a feature to convert auto to the JSON object, right? So for that, what I will do, I will use that response body here. I will use that response body. So what the response body does, it will convert my string object to the JSON object. Right? So whenever the response go back to the client, it will convert to the string objects only. Right? So if I will run it, then I will get welcome to Spring Boot. Right? So here welcome is important. What is the welcome? That is endpoint that we have defined. So some of the endpoint we do define at the method level, some of the endpoint we do define at the class level also. So whenever you want to define at class level, then I will use that request mapping, and I will pass here something like my learning. So here my learning is a class level annotation. Inside that I used one welcome, right? So if you will call with this endpoint, let me restart it once. So that time first I will keep that class level annotation, then I will keep the method level annotation, right? Let me restart it once again. It is running 8080 port, right? Now let me go here, and what I will write first, my learning / welcome. You can see here it is working fine. So here my learning welcome. So my learning is a class label and welcome is a method label, right? That we are differentiating now. So that my learning is a class label, welcome is a method label. Now let me write one more method, look like that. Okay, so what I'm doing here, it will like test something like ID. So I will provide some ID. So here it could be say like welcome with ID. Let me pass here something ID, and here it is called path parameter, and here I will use one annotation like at path variable, and here I will provide like integer type of ID. Okay, path variable of ID. So here I am saying welcome to the Spring Boot, and I am passing ID as well with the response, right? So what does it do here? Here we have like my learning welcome. One is a welcome alone, second one is a welcome with the ID, right? So here again it is also doing the same. So first when I will call my learning, let me restart this. Right, so my Tomcat port is started 8080 port. Then if you will come here like my learning and welcome, with the welcome I will pass some ID like 101. So what happened, right? It will look only those endpoint which is having a welcome with the ID. So you can see here in this controller, right, we have keep this only that will take welcome. After that it will not take anything, but that will take welcome with the ID. So ID will be what, 101 only, right? So it will directly come to this endpoint with 101, and this 101 will copy inside it, and then we will pass this under this ID. So here it will copy 101, and then same will return to the client also. sample it into the client. Welcome to Spring Boot with the ID is like 101, right? Let me hit this now. You can see the response, welcome to Spring Boot 101. So this 101 is nothing like we are passing it as a path variable, right? So we can pass path variable with the URL itself, right? 101 will be path variable. That path variable directly go to this method. So you can see now we have a two method, right? One is this method, second one is that method. So how it will understand that which method will call? So it will understand with the URL only. So in URL we are passing some endpoint, right? Let me pass here one more method that will take like suppose hello. Okay, so let me pass this like endpoint like hello. I'm not passing any ID with that, or let's pass ID. Okay, and here I'm taking like hello something like, and I will return hello. Let's take this time it is a string type, so with the name. Okay, so let me keep it like name. Okay, and here also I will provide like a name. So that will receive by the name, and here I will say hello with a specific person name, right? So this time what happened, right? I will provide hello. With the hello I will provide some name. That name will copy on this particular variable, right? Then what happened, right? This name will directly copy this variable, and that will return the same to the client, right? Let me restart the server once. Whenever you will do any changes on the code, right, if you want to reflect it, you have to restart the server. So this time code is started, right? I will come here, and what I will do here, 101 slash say I'm giving tag with soft, right? Learning welcome build required or not, let me see. Does it having a welcome or not in this endpoint? No, it doesn't have, right? It is having a hello only. So hello with the name which is taking string type, welcome is taking ID type, right? Both are the get mapping only. So instead of welcome I will write hello only there, right? So localhost my learning is a class label annotation, hello is a method label annotation, tag with soft is a string that we are passing here. If I will pass it, then I will get hello tag with soft. So tag with soft is a name, a parameter which we are passing, and hello is a response as it is that we are passing. So please understand that this endpoint is very important here. Suppose if I will pass any other endpoint, like suppose I am passing an hello one, I know that I don't have any hello one endpoints in my controller. What will I get? I will get here 404, resource not found. So we have to be careful that whatever endpoint I am writing, that should be matched with my controller. Otherwise you will get 404. As I told you, right, server status code 404 means resource not found. So I have a three different method here, and all three different methods are having a different endpoints. One is having a welcome, second one is a welcome with the ID, third we have a hello with the specific name, right? So if I will pass this endpoint welcome with some ID, that will call this method only. If I will pass welcome only, then it will call this one only. If you will pass hello with a specific name, then it will call this particular method. So every method is behaving like a separate unit here. We have to understand that which one we are calling, right? And this is also important here. We are taking get mapping only, right? And if I will put support different mapping here, let's say I'm passing here post mapping, right? And I'm passing this, suppose hello one will be the right endpoint, right? If I will send it now, that time I will get 405 method not allowed. What does it mean? In the class I took get mapping, and here I'm keeping the post mapping. So that means get post will not be matched. So that means it will not work fine. It will give me a method not allowed kind of exception, right? So it will not get, and you will get the exception here like that. So these are the simple controller operation I have written. I have just written it. So that is a controller will be the first class that will interact with the postman, and postman just send the request, and this will handle the request, and this request will be treated as a request or response. So here we are taking input as a path variable, and we are sending the response as a string only, string, right? So I will upload this code over the GitHub. You can look that as well, and you can try in your local also, right? It's easy to understand as compared to Spring. If you have a Spring, right, will have a lot of configuration, XML configuration, component scan configuration, base package configuration, bean configuration. Here we don't have to do anything like that. That's why Spring Boot are more popular right now over the Spring, because it provides a lot of flexibility. Right? Now we'll understand. Here we created the simple Spring Boot application. Now second, I'm creating a one controller. They are integrating Spring Boot with REST. Right? So let me write here. Spring Spring Boot with REST. So I made one controller where I want to use Spring Boot with REST. What happened? It's not created. My test, something like that. Let me create. I think it package created, not class, so that's why it is looking like that only. So let me delete it, because we don't require any package here. Okay, so my test I created here. I will implement the REST kind of things, right? So whenever you want to use REST, right, first thing that you have to keep in your mind, instead of controller, what we will use REST controller at the rate of REST controller. And if you are using the REST control, right, that time I told you the difference as well, right? REST control will be combination of, let me take this method, okay, with that. So here I took a REST controller, get mapping, welcome, right? So welcome with REST, let me write welcome REST. Okay, welcome REST is one endpoint that I kept here, right? Method name is test only. That time this response body is not required. If you are using REST controller on the top of the class, right, response body is not required, because response body is inbuilt we have with the REST controller, and I know that use of response body, right, that will convert your Java object to the JSON object, which could be a front-end language object, right? Let me restart it once. So this time 8080 port is started, right? Let me go to the postman. Let me copy this. Welcome REST. I can create n number of control classes. I can write n number of method in a single class, but always remember that mapping method should be different. That should not be same, right? So it is a get mapping here, and I'm passing welcome REST. So let's go to here. So here I don't have any class level annotation, right? I will directly pass this welcome REST. And what method is taking? Get only. That time if I will send it, and I'm getting welcome to Spring Boot. See here I'm getting 200. Okay, 200 okay means it is coming with the body, right? Now let me write one more method here. Where I will not pass suppose any body. I will pass here suppose blank, and that will test with no body. Test with no body, right? Let me write welcome with no body, something like that. Welcome with no body. That could be endpoint for me. So I will copy this. Let me restart once that server. I'm going to start at 8080 port, right? And let me go to the postman, and I will pass this welcome with no body. What I'm getting a 200 with no body, right? So there is a no body, no content on it. It is having a space, actually blank space, so that's why it is coming with the 200 with the no body like that, right? If I will go with this null, will it work or not? Let's see. If I will pass here null, That time also we're getting 200 only, right? So that is the by default response status. If you'll get a success, right, that means it will give 200, 404, 405. Okay, if something exception on it, let me, I'm calculating the length of something like here. Let me do one thing here. I'm creating a one string variable, okay, or let me do one thing here. I will write one sys out before returning system dot out dot println. Okay, and what I'm doing here, let's say I'm creating a one array here on the top of this. Let me create one int of array, okay, or int of suppose str. Okay, let's create array only, int of arr, which are having a suppose values 1 2 3 4, right? I have one array which is having a 1 2 3 4 values. Now here I'm calculating ar dot, I'm displaying suppose arr of, which could be suppose 10. I don't have a 10 index on it, right? Then what does it do? Let's see. Here I created a simple array, and then I calculate the index of 10. So we know that in, if you have a core Java understanding, right, we have a, how many index we have? A 0 1 2 3. We have a till 3 index only. We don't have a 10th index. Then it should give me an index out of bound exception. Let me rerun it. So if I will run with this, right, see what I'm getting, 500 internal server error. That means 500 status code I got, and you can see in this console what it is showing here, index 10 out of bound of length 4. So I'm getting the exception. So if you have, if your code having any exception, right, if your code is having any exception, that time you will get 500 exception status code. So this is a server status code that you have to understand that, and you will get 200, when you will get 500, 400, right, 404, 405. So according to the step by step, right, we will get a number of annotation like that. I mean a number of server status code, 500, 400, 404, something like that, right? One of the important class that also I have to explain, I have to tell you that, called response entity. Okay, so that will cover in next session, no worries about it. Okay, so that is about in this Spring Boot basics. So we have created simple controller. So in this CS lecture we have seen how to create the Spring Boot application and how to connect a Spring Boot application with the Postman, how Postman does send the request, and what is the use of controller and REST control, what the difference both of them. This all we have seen, right? And we have seen the response body also with that, because response body is required every time. We did not see any request body example, right? So in the next session we will look what is the request body kind of, what is the use of request body. Okay, so that is about this lecture. If you like, please subscribe it. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.